That's terrible. Yeah. Well, that's terrible. This whole class is now.
Let's start over.
I'm not starting over. Okay. So yeah, she was a great princess, and because she married Cardamomuni, who was a sage, she had to live this very austere life. So no fancy house, no fancy dresses, no fancy food. And her husband, he was absorbed in his meditation. And so he kind of neglected her. He didn't really pay too much attention to her. And she was serving him very nicely, right? She was just making sure all his needs were met. And she was serving him very faithfully for years and years and years, right? And so after living in this way for so long, she kind of, started to look a little thin and a little shabby. She was, like the beautiful princess that she was when she first married him. And so one day, Cardama, he realized that his once beautiful princess wife is now, kind of looking thin, a little shabby, because she had focused so greatly on serving him. And he wanted, this kind of just, he just was filled with love and adoration for her. And he wanted to give her, whatever she wanted. And so she told him that she wanted to have a child. She said, I want you to give me a child. And so Cardama, he is a great sage, and he had some kind of really great powers because of that. His when you spend so much time focusing your spiritual energy, you kind of get these mystic powers sometimes. And he had really, really good ones. And so he used his mystic powers to make this beautiful mansion, and not just any mansion. This mansion could like fly around. It was like, and it had gardens and everything. I mean, it sounds really cool. Like, wow.
Better than Howl's?
Yes, absolutely. Way better. And so, yeah, so it was just flying around this big, beautiful mansion with gardens and servants and everything, right? I mean, lakes and birds and trees and I mean, everything you could think. So I want to read the description because it's written much nicer than I could say it. And also I can't remember everything. So this is from the third canto. So you can read this story in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's really great. So seeking to please his beloved wife, the sage Cardama exercised his yogic power and instantly produced an aerial mansion that could travel at his will. It was a wonderful structure bedecked with all sorts of jewels, adorned with pillars of precious stones, and capable of yielding whatever one desired. It was equipped with every form of furniture and wealth, which tended to increase in the course of time. The castle was fully equipped with all necessary paraphernalia, and it was pleasing in all seasons. It was decorated all around with flags, festoons, and artistic work of variegated colors. It was further embellished with wreaths of charming flowers that attracted sweetly humming bees, and with tapestries of linen, silk, and various other fabrics. The palace looked charming, with beds, couches, fans, and seats, all separately arranged in 7 stories. Its beauty was enhanced by artistic engravings here and there on the walls. The floor was of emerald with coral daisies. I always wondered about that because emerald's a pretty soft stone, and so I was like, wow, that seems... I guess if you're, say... The palace was at the entrances, and its doors bedecked with diamonds. Gold pinnacles crowned its domes of sapphire. The choicest rubies set in its diamond walls. It appeared as though possessed of eyes. It was furnished with wonderful canopies and greatly valuable gates of gold. Here and there in that palace were multitudes of live swans and pigeons, as well as artificial swans and pigeons, so lifelike that the real swans rose above them again and again, thinking them live birds like themselves. I wonder if they're AI swans. Thus the palace vibrated with the sounds of these birds. The castle had pleasure gardens, resting chambers, bedrooms, and inner and outer yards designed with an eye to comfort. All this caused astonishment to the sage himself. So, I mean, wow. I mean, that's certainly nicer than anything I've seen, even in like a fantasy, right? And so Devahuti and Karma, they enjoyed each other's company for hundreds of years, right? And flying around in this opulent palace, like going all over the universe. And they had 9 daughters. And my favorite part about this story really is that the 9 daughters were only conceived at the very end of this hundreds of years of enjoyment, right? So they're just like having the time of their lives, enjoying with each other, flying all over, and only at the end do they conceive these 9 daughters who are then born in the same day. So like no, long pregnancy of, I mean, if any of you've been pregnant, it's not the most pleasant thing sometimes. And 9 daughters, all conceived and born in the same day. After all this enjoyment, Devahuti, she actually began to lament. And so why is she lamenting? She had more enjoyment than anything I could ever have or even think of, right? She even had her children, right? She wanted children. She had 9 daughters. So why was she lamenting? Do you know?
She hadn't used that time to like inquire.
Yeah, that's good.
And also because her husband's a sage, she could have even learned something that she enjoyed.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, she lamented. Yeah, because well, I'll just read what she says. I mean, it's really powerful. She says, "Until now, we have simply wasted so much of our time in sense gratification, neglecting to cultivate knowledge of the Supreme Lord." Right? Not knowing your transcendental situation, I have loved you while remaining attached to the objects of the senses. Nonetheless, let the affinity I have developed for you rid me of all fear. Association for sense gratification is certainly the path of bondage, but the same type of association, performed with a saintly person, leads to the path of liberation, even if performed without knowledge. Anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to religious life, anyone whose religious ritualistic performances do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be considered dead, although he is breathing. My Lord, surely I have been solidly cheated by the insurmountable illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For in spite of having obtained your association, which gives liberation from material bondage, I did not seek such liberation. So yeah, she's lamenting she didn't use that time, even though she had enjoyed like far greater than any of us have enjoyed. At least I think so. Does one of you have a aerial mansion you're not inviting me to? Okay. So yeah, she had enjoyed so much with her husband. She got the children that she wanted, but still she was lamenting because she realized it was a waste of time, right? It was a waste of time. Yeah, they had fun. But really, she understood what the true purpose of life was, right? And so this is what ends up happening is she did ask her husband for one more thing. She wanted to have a son. And so he gave her a son. And so she didn't just have any son. It was, not just, her son, little Bobby or anything like that. She had Lord Kapila for her son. And so Lord Kapila is an incarnation of Krishna himself. And so Lord Kapila was also a great sage. And what did Devahuti do? She took advantage of this and asked questions, because now is the time to inquire when you're in this human form. So what were her questions? So let's see here. Okay. So Devahuti, she said, these are her questions. Now I'm jumping around to just her questions, so you can get the idea of the types of questions we should be asking. So Devahuti continued, I have taken shelter of your lotus feet, and she meets her son, Lord Kapila. have taken shelter of your lotus feet because you are the only person of whom to take shelter. You are the axe which can cut the tree of material existence. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you, who are the greatest of all transcendentalists, and I inquire from you as to the relationship between a man and a woman, and between spirit and matter. So she wants to know about how men and women interact, and also what is the difference between spirit and matter, and what is their relationship. So another question she asked, on hearing this statement of the Lord, Devahuti inquired, what kind of devotional service is worth developing and practicing to help me easily and immediately attain the service of your lotus feet? So she's asking about devotional service she should be doing. And then she says, the mystic yoga system, as you explained, aims at the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is meant for completely ending material existence. Please let me know the nature of that yoga system. How many ways are there by which one can understand in truth that sublime yoga? So she's asking how many paths are there, right? And another question she asked, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, kindly explain the characteristics of the Supreme Person and his energies, for both of these are the cause of this manifest and unmanifest creation. So she's asking about God. She says, tell me about God. What is he like? What does he do, right? Then she asks, my dear Brahmana, does material nature ever give release to the spirit soul, since one is attracted to the other? Is there separation possible? So she's asking, how do we get out of this material world, right? Is it possible? If so, how do we do it? Then she asks, as there is no separate existence of the earth and its aroma, of water and its taste, there cannot be any separate existence of intelligence and consciousness. Hence, even though he is the passive performer of all activities, how can there be freedom for the soul as long as material nature acts on him and binds him, right? And again, she's wanting further clarification. How can the soul be free from this material nature if it is binding us, right? Because every action has an equal or opposite reaction, right? That's like a law of the universe. That's the karmic law as well, right? Even if great fear of bondage is avoided by mental speculation and inquiry into the fundamental principles, it may still appear again, since its cause has not ceased. Right. So, you're doing mental gymnastics to ease your mind, right? So you say, oh, I'm not so entangled, because those mental gymnastics are not working, right? They can only work so long. Okay. Then she says, my dear Lord, you have already very scientifically described the symptoms of total material according to the Sankhya system of philosophy. Now I shall request you to explain the path of devotional service, which is the ultimate end of all philosophical systems. So again, asking about devotional service. How do we perform it? How do we do it? And then finally, she says, my dear Lord, please also describe in detail, both for me and for people in general, the continual process of birth and death. For hearing of such calamities, we may become detached from the activities of this material world. Please also describe eternal time, which is a representation of your form and by whose influence people in general engage in the performance of pious activities. So she wants to know about birth and death, that cycle of birth and death, and about time. So these are the types of questions that we should be asking. So the purpose of life. What is the purpose of life?
To serve.
Huh?
To serve.
To serve, yeah. So the supreme occupation for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service under the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy yourself, this self, right? I don't know when I've last been completely satisfied by anything, right? Can you guys think of a time you were completely satisfied with something? No? I certainly can. Okay. So what is devotional service? So devotional service means any activities that are performed for the pleasure of Lord Krishna, and we do this with devotion and ultimately not mixed with any desires for personal pleasure. So Krishna, he's all attractive, but pure devotional service attracts even Krishna, right? And that means that pure devotional service is actually stronger than Krishna, right? Because that's internal potency. So it's stronger than him, but it's also him. So, okay. So just to so we looked at all these problems that we have in our society. We've seen that humanity has been trying to solve these problems for millennia. And despite all of this, these problems keep coming back, right? And so that's because the root of these problems lies in our consciousness. And people keep acting like the enjoyment or endlessly repeating the same patterns of sense gratification. Just like in its grossest form, you see like an alcoholic or a drug addict, right? They keep trying to feel better. And so they keep doing the same thing that's actually making them feel worse and worse and worse, but they keep trying, right? And it's so obvious when you're outside of it, right? You can see it, it's so obvious. But when you're in it, you keep thinking, oh yes, I'll feel better if I do this one more time, just one more time, just one more time, right? And so that's what we're doing. Just one more time, I'm going to enjoy, whatever it is, fame, adoration, distinction, whatever. Only we've been doing this for billions of lifetimes. And so this rare human birth offers us this unique opportunity to rise above this and to discover the true purpose of life. Devotional service to Lord Krishna. And so illustrated this despite enjoying so much greater than any of us could enjoy. I mean, I really love crystals and things, and just like the description of like the floors and the walls and everything. It's just like, if I went in there, I would be just completely in heaven, to see all these beautiful. She enjoyed for hundreds of years, and then she realized that fulfillment that she's looking for doesn't come from any of that stuff, not from the wealth, not from her family, not from spending time with her husband, but only from inquiring about the soul and inquiring what are we supposed to do, and engaging in that devotional service. So when we understand that our position and the position of everybody else is an eternal part and parcel of Krishna, we recognize that every living being shares the same spiritual nature, then true equality can actually arise naturally. This is going to happen naturally, right? Because if we realize that, it'll be so much harder to exploit your fellow man, right? If you realize, no, they're part and parcel of Krishna, just like me. It'll be so much harder to exploit the environment, to exploit the animals, right? Because we realize, no, they're a part and parcel of Krishna, I'm a part and parcel of Krishna, and everything belongs to Krishna. Therefore, if we keep that in our mind and we remember that, these problems will naturally be solved, right? Because that consciousness is different. Anybody that ever had to clean up after someone messy, right? You can clean up the room, 10 times a week, but it still keeps getting messy, right? Because that person's consciousness hasn't been changed, right? So it doesn't matter how many times you clean that room, it's just going to keep getting messy again, unless you somehow work with them to do better. And so that's what we should be doing. Because this problems aren't going to be solved by better laws, by technologies, by policies. It's this transformation in consciousness. And so we have to realize that our eternal relationship with Krishna is what's going to do that, not this enjoyment. And I think we'll just end there. So, very well. All right. Any comments, questions, refutations? Yes.
Okay, I refute, no. In all these stories where like, there's a sage and stuff and he gets with like some girl that don't know anything, why doesn't he ever think to tell her? Except for like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you know, where they
Yeah.
like send the hooker after her.
Yeah.
You know, and he wisens her up, you know, without even being too, but aside from that, I can't think of any of these stories where he spent thousands of years with like this, same one doesn't think to tell her, hey, did you know?
Yeah, no, I don't, I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I really don't know the answer to that, but yeah, that's a good point. Then there wouldn't be a story to tell then, Arjuna. No.
Lord Kapila would have never taken birth, and the whole world would be in darkness.
Yeah, exactly. All right, should we end there? Is there, all right?
So, would you like to do the arati? So that I can see.
Okay, sure. Can you stop that or are you gonna show the artist?
Now we stop.
Oh, it's still going?
There's a little, yeah.
Okay.
Can you find it?
No, no.
There's a little X in the corner.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.